Beloved, chosen one, child of God, have you ever laid awake at night asking why your heart loved so deeply only to be left aching? Wondering why God allowed you to give your love to the wrong person first? Questioning whether you misheard him or misunderstood yourself? Feeling the quiet war between faith and disappointment, between hope and regret, between I trusted and I was hurt? And today I speak directly to that inner struggle because this is not a message of shame. It is a message of revelation, alignment, and divine clarity, and hear me clearly. This message reveals 5 powerful revelations about why God allowed that season, that relationship, that attachment, and none of them are punishment, all of them are preparation, because what felt like rejection was actually redirection, what felt like loss was actually protection, and what felt like delay was God refining your discernment. Revelation 1 is this: God was revealing your heart before revealing your partner, because in this season God is not trying to give you someone, He is shaping you into someone. The spiritual meaning of the struggle is that love exposed places in you that comfort never could. It showed you where you overgave, where you ignored red flags for potential, where you loved from longing instead of fullness, and just like Scripture reminds us that the heart is deceitful above all things, God allowed that experience to bring your heart into alignment with truth, not fantasy, because Jacob had to work for Leah before he could recognize Rachel, and what felt like deception was actually education, teaching you the difference between familiarity and covenant. Revelation 2 is this: God was sharpening your discernment, because in this season God is teaching you how to hear Him even when emotions are loud. The spiritual meaning of the pain is that it trained your spirit to recognize what is not from God, so you will never confuse it again, because Samson loved Delilah before he ever understood his calling, and what felt like love became a lesson, what felt like attraction became instruction, and what felt like betrayal became wisdom, because God will often allow the wrong connection so you will never idolize connection again. And understand this truth deeply: God will never allow the right person to require you to abandon your identity, and what felt like rejection was actually redirection back to yourself, back to your calling, back to your assignment, because you were never meant to shrink to be chosen, you were meant to stand whole and be aligned. And hear this, beloved, this is only the beginning of the revelation, because God is not finished with your story, He is only setting the foundation. Chosen one, child of God, let your spirit lean in, because Revelation 3 is unfolding right now. God was protecting your destiny, because in this season God is separating emotion from assignment. The spiritual meaning of that broken connection is that the wrong person had access to parts of you they were never anointed to steward, and God, in His mercy, intervened before attachment turned into entanglement, because Abraham loved Lot, but Lot could not go where Abraham was called, and what felt like loss was actually divine severance, what felt like heartbreak was actually heaven drawing a boundary, because destiny requires discernment and calling demands separation. And hear this truth clearly: not everyone who walks with you can walk into what God promised you, and God will always remove what threatens the future He showed you, even if it hurts your present, because what felt like rejection was actually redirection away from delay, away from compromise, away from confusion. And Revelation 4 builds on this powerfully. God was teaching you the value of divine timing, because in this season God is training you to wait without weakening your faith. The spiritual meaning of the delay is maturation, not denial, because David was anointed king long before he wore the crown, and Joseph dreamed before he governed, and Ruth lost before she was restored, and what felt like too early was actually mercy, because had the relationship worked, you might have settled before you were stretched. Chosen comfort over calling, and hear me, beloved, God will never rush what He plans to sustain, and He will never bring someone into your life before both hearts are ready to carry the weight of purpose together, because premature love often breaks under pressure, but prepared love grows through storms. And what felt like rejection was actually redirection into perfect timing, alignment, and wholeness. And stay with me, because the final revelation is where everything shifts and your pain finally makes sense. Beloved, chosen one, child of God, Revelation 5 is the turning point, and hear it with your spirit open. God was restoring your identity before releasing your destiny, because in this season God is not just preparing your future relationship, He is healing your self-worth. The spiritual meaning of loving the wrong person first is that it exposed where you sought validation instead of confirmation, where you tried to be chosen instead of standing chosen, and like the prodigal son who had to lose himself before remembering who he was, God allowed the separation so you would return to yourself with clarity, strength, and authority, because what felt like abandonment was actually awakening, what felt like being overlooked was actually God removing counterfeit affirmation, and what felt like heartbreak was God teaching you that you are not too much, you were just misplaced. Because the wrong person will always make you feel like you are asking for too much when you are simply asking the wrong one. And hear this clearly: The right person will not compete with your calling, they will confirm it, they will not drain your oil, they will protect it, because Eve was not created until Adam was positioned, and God never brings covenant before identity, never sends partnership before purpose, and this is why God allowed you to love the wrong person first, so you would never again confuse chemistry with covenant, attention with assignment, or desire with destiny, because now your standards are higher, your discernment is sharper, your faith is deeper, and your heart is guarded but not closed, and feel the shift happening right now, because the season of confusion is ending, the season of clarity is beginning, and what once wounded you will no longer define you, it will refine you, prepare you, and propel you forward, because God does not waste pain, He redeems it, and stay with me, child of God, because what comes next is the sealing of this word, the encouragement, the declaration, and the assurance that God's timing is not late, it is perfect. Beloved, chosen one, child of God, this is the final word, the sealing of the message, the moment where heaven reminds you who you are and where you are going, because hear me with confidence and peace. God's timing is perfect, not delayed, not forgotten, not denied, and the same God who allowed the wrong person to exit your life is the God who is aligning the right one to enter at the appointed time, because in this season God is calling you to stand in faith, not fear, the spiritual meaning of everything you endured is transformation, not trauma, preparation, not punishment, and just as Scripture says that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to His purpose. Your story is being woven into something greater than you imagined, because what felt like rejection was actually redirection into destiny, what felt like loss was actually protection over your future, and what felt like delay was God aligning hearts, timing, and purpose, and now, I speak encouragement over you. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are not disqualified, you are right where God can shape you, strengthen you, and surprise you. So lift your head, guard your heart, and keep your faith alive, because the love God has for you is intentional, covenantal, and secure, and the love He is preparing for you will meet you whole, not wounded, aligned, not confused, and before we close, declare this with me out loud. Let it anchor your spirit. I trust God's timing. I am chosen. I am prepared. I will not settle. What God has for me will find me at the right time. And rest in this assurance. Child of God, the chapter that hurt you is not the chapter that will hold you, because God writes beautiful endings, and the best is not behind you, it is ahead, and He is faithful to complete what He started in you.